And so I think it's actually very funny looking back on it now that I am, like a financial expert, but starting off, I was so behind the curve. But I do think what I learned there that pretty much anyone who works there takes away is just the ability to work so hard. And I think it's this sort of level of expectation of hardworking and a default expectation of excellence, and kind of the ability to just be both of those things and apply both of those things in everything that you do because it's expected of you. That's one thing that I think is not talked enough about that is super valuable at working at one of those institutions.
And would you do it again?
I would do it again.
You would do
Whoa.
it again?
Whoa.
Hot take.
I have not heard her say that.
I mean, I'd do it again because those are the sorts of values that it's really hard to build up unless you were put in that sort of situation, right? Unless, like for me, I was working 90, 100 hours a week. And because it was my first job out of school, I thought that was normal. I was like, oh yeah, just another 100-hour week, like that's normal. And so once you've been in that mindset, if you move on to your next job and you're working like 80 hours a week, you're like, wow, this is a piece of cake. Like this job is so easy. Like nothing feels hard to you anymore, right? And when you have been held to the level of expectation of your MDs, your partners at Goldman, where it's like every single thing has to be perfect. Am I saying that that's healthy? Am I saying that that's, the way that you should live your life forever? No, but it was something that is sort of like ingrained in you that you can never let go of, for better or worse.
Yeah. I think it's a level of work ethic. And especially if it's your first job out of school, you're, 22 years old, your first professional environment, the expectation is so high of what success looks like. And you obviously put a lot of pressure on yourself, but I like seeing it from the vantage point of like, you were shaped as a professional and your standards of excellence for yourself and the deliverable and work output you have is so high. Like, working at one of these investment banks or, a top 3 consulting firm, your MDs or, your associate, you're like moving pixels for them because that's what it takes to be perfect and what it takes to deliver excellence. I think a lot of people these days are like, I don't know. I take a lot of pride in our work, but I'm also looking for that for the people that I'm working with as well. And I think that's hard to come by sometimes.
Yeah. And then a little bit more specifically on what I learned, a little more, I guess, discreetly, is that in my role, I was on the investment team for our internal fund of funds. So what we would do is we would interview fund managers for private equity funds, hedge funds, long only, fixed income, et cetera. And then we would allocate money and invest in them. And our clients would be, sovereign wealth funds, endowments, et cetera. And so even as like a 22-year-old out of college, I was sitting in all these meetings, and it was part of my job to interview these fund managers who were running $100 billion